welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we will be discussing all about the Nigeria Social Security Trust Fund bill presented at the floor of the Senate. We also have new stories for you. We will be right back. At a national gathering in Lagos, Labour leaders say insecurity in the country has reached a point where workers, schools, and entire communities can no longer guarantee safety. The NLC insists that frequent kidnappings, ransom demands, and targeted attacks, especially on teachers and students, require decisive government intervention.
And the NLC cannot sit idly and watch bandits take over the country. Never again. Consequently, at the end of this next meeting, the NLC will take a strong stand to know what is happening, to know why security men who were sent to guide a school were withdrawn and for kidnappers to come out and kidnap students. The worker that was killed in the school is a teacher, and people that were kidnapped are children of workers.
The Congress also cautioned political leaders against actions that could further heighten tensions, warning that an unstable political climate will worsen insecurity nationwide. Beyond safety concerns, the NLC used the forum to discuss challenges across critical sectors, including power, technology, and compliance with local labor laws.
Those in the power sector should make sure that Nigeria has 24 hours power supply. No country develops technologically without developing its own power sector. The power sector is the foundation for technological development. The continued disruption of the refineries in the country will bring monopoly into the market. On issue of what happened in the Dangote refinery is an eyesore. Any Nigerian that wants to do business in Nigeria must obey the laws of this nation.
In our own country, we must pressurize the government here to protect the life and property of every citizen. That is the oath they took when they came to power. So we're not going to allow anybody to mess us up. A foreign intervention will worsen the security picture in the country. In line with decisions of the National Industrial Accord, not less than 10 decisions. Union membership for members of the NSC is automatic.
Discussions concluded with the need for governments to respect religious freedom and honor long-standing agreements with unions, reiterating that several government agreements dating as far back as 2009 remain unimplemented. The Nigeria Employers Consultative Association has announced that it will set up an ESG advisory board to help organizations understand their obligations, improve reporting, and align with global sustainability expectations. The report highlights the need for stronger private sector participation and deeper engagement with global frameworks like IFRS S1 and S2.
We can draw awareness, create awareness, or deepen awareness of Nigerian private sector into the conversation about ESG, so that those that are not already practicing ESG, they can find a way to put their leg into the conversation, and those that are already ahead, as the research have shown, so that they can also help us to drag others into the fray, so that progressively our practice on governance continue to improve, our concern for the environment continue to improve, and then our capacity to operate responsibly also continue to expand.
It was important to look at what exactly it is in Nigeria at the moment, where the organization stands. There are very many people who said within the room at the conference to say that I don't think Nigeria is ready for ESG. And then in the report you will find people are doing very well with ESG reporting already. And so it's a sort of balanced approach, looking at what some organizations are doing, what the SMEs are doing, how they are struggling, and what resources they can now harness that is available to ensure that sustainability reporting and sustainability as a whole is something they can put into their strategies and into their development going forward.
Stakeholders agree that with proper guidance, which include energy management, risk assessment, and materiality analysis, Nigerian companies can unlock new investment, improve profitability, and strengthen their global relevance. The International Labour Organization and the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association say the new environmental, social, and governance practice framework will help shape future policy, deepen responsible business conduct, and position Nigeria as a leader in sustainability practice across Africa. Experts have warned that workers in Nigeria remain exposed to workplace risk as gaps persist in the enforcement of the Employees Compensation Act and the current status of the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund (NSITF). Reports show that many employers fail to contribute to the scheme, while informal workers, who constitute a large percentage of the labor force, remain outside the coverage of the 2010 Act. The current Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund (NSITF) provides compensation for workers who suffer workplace injuries, accidents, or diseases arising from employment. The objectives of the funds are in line with the Employees Compensation Act 2010. According to Act 73 of 1993, the objectives of the NSITF are provision of open and fair system of guaranteed and adequate compensation for all employees or their department, as well as rehabilitation of employees with work-related disabilities. They also include the establishment and maintenance of a solvent compensation fund managed in the interest of employees and employers, as well as provide for fair and adequate assessment for employers. The Act also aims to provide an appeal procedure that is simple and fair, with minimal delays, and combines the efforts and resources of relevant stakeholders for the prevention of workplace disabilities. At a public hearing, Senator Fasuyi Cyril presented a bill proposing amendment of the Nigeria Social Security Trust Fund Act 2025, aimed at repealing existing compensation laws.
My view about the enforcement powers, just to respond to your powers, to your fears and concerns about sealing of workplaces, is that we are subjected to a much more legal framework for exercising that power. So we want to be able to, and this is something that I'm sure we'll do on a more technical level when looking at the line-by-line clauses in the Act, that whenever we have the cause or need to do that, we will subject ourselves to the law courts to make a case for the reason to do that, and then that can then take its place. But you've also spoken about the issue of appeal. Appeal does not lie with the board. Appeal lies to the board. The board has no role in determining what the compensation quantum is and all of the indices that we take into consideration.
The NLC demands as follows: the sanctity of the tripartite governance structure. The tripartite structure of the existing management board under ECA must be preserved and strengthened. The core of the fund's governance must remain equal representation of government, employers, and labor, ensuring no single interest can dominate. We demand enhanced workers' representation. In the true spirit of tripartism, labor should have an enhanced representation. Safeguard must be maintained. We demand that the bill explicitly provide for an independent investment committee composed of financial experts with representation from labor, employers, to protect the fund's assets. The board autonomy for ministerial control, I've said that. More focus on strengthening and not weakening. Instead of this amendment that negates the essence of dignity of the workplace, the National Assembly should focus on strengthening the implementation of the ECA, expanding coverage to more workers, improving claims processing, and ensuring prompt compensation for injuries and diseases. It should be more about workers' welfare.
The bill proposes a harmonized social security institution that expands protection to formal and informal workers and strengthens occupational safety and health standards. The bill, if it scales through, aims to harmonize existing laws on social insurance and employee compensation into a single, efficient framework. It also proposes the creation of a central institution to manage social security funds and expand protection for workers in formal and informal sectors against unemployment, workplace injuries, disabilities, and retirement challenges. Another objective of the bill is ensuring accountability, transparency, and sustainable financing while aligning with international labor standards. More so, the bill proposes change of name to Nigeria Social Security Trust Fund, strengthening enforcement of occupational safety and health, clarification of total monthly payroll, and replacement of the Independent Investment Committee with a board-led investment committee supported by the CBN, NECA, NLC, and the executive director. Part of the objectives is the imposition of penalties on employers who fail to report incident while ensuring such failure does not impede workers' access to compensation, as well as prohibition of any deductions from the fund created regardless of legal provisions in the law.
I want to assure you that we represent you. We wouldn't do anything that would be detrimental to you. We're here because of your votes, and we value you. Whatever decision we're taking here, the decision goes beyond our tenure. It goes beyond our lives. We will not engage in anything that will be detrimental. We want to work today against a better tomorrow. We as a secretariat will go over all the opinions, and I ask you again, even in the process at the secretarial level, you can still come close and see what we are doing. Because we're not going to do anything that will jeopardize the progress, welfare, and then the advancement of the entire workers of Nigeria.
Stakeholders in attendance described the legislation as a timely reform that could improve the welfare of employees and align Nigeria with international labor standards.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the MD CEO of the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund. It tells me it's of utmost importance for Nigerians to back the Nigerian Social Security Trust Fund bill, as it has enormous benefits for both informal and formal workers. It's good to have you on the program.
It's good to be back on your program.
Once again, we're having a conversation as regards the world of work, social security, how Nigerians can benefit, and how Nigerians can stay safe. Recently, there was a bill at the House, and the bill seeks for the repeal of the act that set up Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund. Can you bring us up to speed on what NSITF response is on this development?
Yes, thank you. You're right. There is a bill in the House that seeks to repeal the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund Act and the Employee Compensation Act 2010, and then amalgate both provisions, all the provisions of those two bills into one single bill, basically to give us a bit of more operational efficiency. And it's been a long process that we have engaged with by way of participating in the just concluded public hearing. And our presentations are largely in support of the provisions of the bill. It's in support because I recall that the process leading to the commencement of that amendment started in 2024, if I recall, August 2024, when we had a retreat with the National Assembly members comprising both the Senate and House of Representatives. And it was a 3-day retreat. I believe you were in that retreat, if I recall. And some of the key takeaway from that retreat was that the National Assembly will look at our laws to give effect to some areas that we feel that we are challenging, particularly in the areas of enforcement, in the areas of calculation of what monthly payroll is, which constitutes what an employer will use to calculate their percentage payment, which ultimately also constitutes what we will use to calculate payouts when there are issues. So, those sort of little, then of course there is also provisions for increased occupational safety and health awareness, audit, and all of that, which resonates with what we want to do. So it's a process that the National Assembly has taken through, and we thank them for that.
And you get results.
Yes.
So, still talking about the National Assembly, the bill has passed through the first reading, it has passed through the second reading, now the public hearing.
Yes.
But during the public hearing, there were concerns from the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association.
Yes.
And for them, they are concerned about the tripartite structure that the institution has. How would you react to their concern? Is there any? Do they have any reason to be afraid of any? I don't know how to put it now. Is there any reason why they should have any concern? What more benefits would they even get?
NECA and NLC are critical stakeholders, and their concerns are valid. I think what is important is that they have the platform to express those concerns, and for National Assembly to take those concerns very seriously and incorporate them into the bill as it progresses. I've had cause to address some of those concerns in my own presentation. I think from NECA's perspective, the most important thing is the governance structure, and even the NLC perspective, is the most important thing is the integrity of the governance structure, the sanctity of the governance structure, to ensure that all of the key stakeholders, the tripartite key stakeholders, are well represented in the fund, such that no one part of that tripartite is unduly empowered or overshadows the other, such that we have the balanced governance structure, and we have a governance structure that is reflective of that tripartite arrangement. The truth is that the bill that we've seen, that we've reviewed, that is under consideration, really does reinforce and enforce and reinforce the governance structure in a way that guarantees that. I've looked at it, all of the existing powers that the NSITF Act and the ECS Act currently has in respect of board and governance oversight has been transferred into the new Act, so there shouldn't be any concern. And I've also made the point that, yes, the tripartite nature of our arrangement is important by virtue of ILO conventions and practices, but when it comes to lawmaking, the sole power to make law is of the National Assembly, and they are very, very jealous with that power, and I understand. So we can let that power or that responsibility play out without mitigating those tripartite relationship. One is to ensure that at the public hearing, that those key tripartite structure are afforded the opportunity to speak, to hear their concern, to make their input in the bill. And like I said on Monday, the truth is that bill is not and won't be a perfect bill, but we are all there participating in the public hearing, further engaging, and we promise to further engage the process to ensure that all of our concerns are noted. Where we think that the thinking behind any provision is not right, we would reflect it. So it's still a work in progress. And both NECA, both NLC, both civil society, everybody with valid points to make should still engage the National Assembly to put forward their points, as we would, to ensure that at the end of the day, we come out with a robust bill that, serves the interests of Nigerian workers generally.
During our conversation, you mentioned the role of the board. Yes. And during, while trying to read up on the issue, I saw your submission on the floor of the House, and there are some concerns that you seem to have as regards the board and its functionalities.
The generality of the NSITF board has been very supportive. They are men and women of high integrity. They come from very rich background from both the private sector led by NECA and the public sector led by some members of NLC and all of that. So we're fine. But we've observed from, of course, engagements that there are ambiguities as to the functions of the board and the functions of management. Those ambiguities have arisen as a result of the legal drafting style adopted for the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund Act. The predominant phrase that was used to describe both the board, the management, and the agency is called management board. So when you look at the board, the act, responsibilities that are administratively, commonsensically that of the agency as an agency, and that of the management as management, has been, the word management board has been used to describe, those that are to execute those responsibilities. And when you then have an expansive reading of the bill, you could think that the board is managing the day-to-day affairs of the agency rather than the oversight and supervisory role that is meant to play, where it meets sometimes 4 to 6 times a year as stipulated in the same act. So we feel that in order to remove that ambiguity, reduce friction, that the delineation and reference to these 3 key organs, the agency as one, as the agency in terms of NSITF as a fund, as an organization, the management and the board should be described appropriately in a manner where the reading of that act does not bring ambiguity as to functions and responsibilities. And I think it's very clear. I've made the point that we're in support of that, not only because we are here at this time, but because we need to leave a law for prosperity that others coming after us can operate easily and seamlessly without functions.
In summary, if you look at the content and the spirit of the bill or the letters, what do you think an ordinary Nigerian tend to gain from this bill if it scales through?
A lot, I must say. But most importantly is the codification of our ongoing efforts to expand coverage to the informal sector. We've said it over and over that the informal sector represents the largest base of our workers. They represent the economic driver of our productivity, and it's important to give them the resilience that they require to thrive. Part of that resilience building mechanism is the employee compensation scheme. And until we're able to provide in very clear, easy, and seamless manner a workplace protection system for the informal sector, the backbone of our economy will still be vulnerable. So the law makes it easier for us to do that. It makes it easier for the informal sector, recognizing it clearly and giving us the wherewithal and to really then go after that. Then the order is really specific improvement in occupational safety and health initiatives that can also help in safeguarding workers at workplaces. I think is important. Then, of course, the enforcement powers that we envisage for NSITF to enforce compliance, which ultimately is to the benefit of Nigerian workers, will be enhanced, and we are hopeful that when we have those enforcement powers, we're able to ensure that a lot of employers come under the umbrella. Those initiatives will be very, very useful in expanding coverage for Nigerian workers, I must say.
How prepared is NSITF if the name gets to be changed? Now it's not going to be Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund. It will be Nigerian Social Security Trust Fund.
We're prepared, and I'll tell you why. And this is not to say that the name change will be Nigerian Social Security Trust Fund, because, of course, at the hearing as well, there was suggestions that the name should reflect our core mandate, which is the Employee Compensation Scheme. Whatever name that the National Assembly settles on, we will take it and run with it, as long as we deliver the services underlying that name much more effectively. We would do our best to make everything work. The most important thing is to deliver good service. One of the key reasons why we feel that there should be a name change is the feedback that we've gotten from our time in the field. Due to cultural issues, there have been some employers and employees even that tend to stay away from engaging with Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund because they hear the word insurance. Yes, they hear the word insurance, and for some reasons they shy away from it. Of course, we've had to educate them that this is social insurance that speaks to their welfare, that speaks to their benefit, in line with the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. And if you recall that renewed hope agenda, it's specifically speaking to social security support. The President says every Nigerian worker that is diligent and toiling would be protected socially. And social protection is in all the ramifications. What we have focused on is the workplace element of social protection, such that in the course of work, if there are injuries, there are deaths, there are disabilities, we will come in.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your time.
Thank you very much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijakon. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor pays well.